Hey everyone, this is Jessica from Peterborough and Kawartha's Chamber of Commerce. We are here with Meg from Meg Nimigon Coaching and Consulting. So she's one of our newest members, so we thought we'd introduce her. Can you talk a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. My name is Meg Nimigon. I run a business here as a team synergy coach. So I help remote teams build team culture without having to go into an office. I lived in Peterborough now for about 5 years. I also serve on the board of the New Stages Theatre Company here. And what else? I have two young boys. One's named Levon, and he's about 3.5. And I have another boy named Callum, and he's 2. And I have a wonderful husband named Eric, who also runs his own business here as a home renovator.
Oh, wow. So very busy with two young kids, but we're thrilled to have you on board at the Chamber. Can
Thanks.
you talk a little bit more about what a team synergy coach is?
Yeah, sure. As a team synergy coach, I work with teams who are working remotely to help them build the team culture, I like to say, of their dreams. It's my belief that team culture is actually built through relationships. And so, since a lot of teams have moved online, relationships have taken a bit of a hit, and we're seeing people who feel a lot of overwhelm, a lot of stress, a lot of burnout. So, when I work with teams, I really focus on building up that trust and empathy and understanding between team members so that we can create space to have conversations around what's working and what's not working so that they can kind of build up a team culture that supports them and works for them.
That's awesome that you're able to help boost these businesses, especially in a bit of a different time with COVID and things are always changing and moving.
Yeah.
Your description on your website, you said you're a mindset coach, theater practitioner, and online learning designer. So that's a whole bunch of awesome things. And how did you bring those together with your company?
I bring a lot of different elements to my work. So I've done a lot of mindset coaching in the past. And the idea behind that is that our thinking can have a very powerful effect on the experience that we have in the world and ultimately on the results that we create. So the results we create in our own life and the results that we create at work. So when it comes to working remotely, if teams can learn how their thinking affects how they show up every day, then we can learn to use our thinking to actually better our relationships. We can show up with more intention, and we can also learn how to take better care of ourselves because when we work remotely, we spend a lot of time alone. So I think mindset can be a really key skill to learn when we're in that space, and it can help kind of lead to less conflict and less burnout. The theater side, so I have a background in theater. I did a bachelor in theater from Bishop's University. And I have a big love for something called applied theater, which is using theater-based practices and exercises with just everyday people to help
Oh,
create
wow.
connections and explore issues. So it's this different form of theater. So I actually bring a lot of like embodiment tools and creative tools into my sessions. So since I facilitate over Zoom, it's really important for me to design sessions that are engaging and actually build trust and relationships as when you're taking part in them rather than just sort of having traditional conversations. So I try to make my sessions kind of unique and creative, bringing in some elements from my past. I used to work for a social change institute that was all remote, and we did a lot of online learning, a lot of online engagement. So I'm just kind of pulling what I've learned in terms of, what's not engaging and what is engaging, and how do we actually build those connections online. So yeah, it's a little bit about that.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Can you give us some more detail about the types of programs that you offer, like more on the structure side of things?
Sure. Yeah. So I have two main offers. One is my team synergy program. So that's where I help teams build more supportive team culture, especially teams that are working remotely. And a lot of the teams I work with, people are struggling with burnout. They have a lot to do and they feel overwhelmed. So we kind of work through that. The way I do that is the beginning of the program, I actually do stay interviews with each member of the team. So a lot of us hear about exit interviews, which is kind of what's done when somebody quits and finds out why they quit. So the idea of a stay interview is actually to not wait until someone quits, but to actually talk to people while they work there to find out why they stay and what's working and what's not working. So I do that with each member of the team to start.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
then I facilitate a 6-part workshop series. So there's one workshop a week for 6 weeks where we meet online and I work my magic to help create trust and understanding and relationships, and then open up the space so that teams can have these conversations around what's working and not while they feel kind of supported and engaged. So there's that piece of my work. And then I also do one-on-one coaching with CEOs because, I think an important thing to note is like, if our leaders are able to take care of their brains and feel really intentional and in control of how they show up to work, then they're going to be a better leader for their teams. So I've talked to a lot of CEOs who are struggling with overwhelm and stress because there's so much going on in this new world of work. So I work one-on-one with them in a coaching container to help them work through that, ultimately so that like the whole team and them can just feel better as they do their work. So yeah, those are sort of the two ways that I work with teams.
Oh, wow. So it's nice to see you have kind of like boots to the ground services, and then also services that kind of trickle down to benefit everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. And just for fun, can you tell us your favorite thing about Peterborough and the Kawarthas to wrap up?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I said my husband and I moved here 5 years ago. We were living in Toronto before, and we were really drawn to Peterborough. We kind of picked it. Some people are like, "Oh, what brought you here?" We're like, "I just kind of picked it because it's just a beautiful city." I love the size of it. I love that there's like options to go to multiple different pubs, multiple cafes, lots of things to do. But it's still small enough that you run into people you know all the time. So for me, it was like the perfect size city. And I also just love that it's just this gateway to nature. We have a cottage in Halliburton, and so it's very close.
Amazing.
And so, yeah, our life since day one moving here, we've always been super happy. So, yeah,
That's
really,
awesome.
really happy to live in Peterborough.
Yeah, that's actually, I'm a fairly new person to Peterborough as well. So that was one of my favorite things too, is there's so many great places to eat.
Yes, so many great places, and to grab a beer and to grab a beautiful coffee. So I feel very lucky.
Love it. Well, thank you so much. Again, we have Meg Nimigon from Meg Nimigon Coaching and Consulting, one of our newest members. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.